All right, so here's what we know so far about this 99 F550. Super heavy duty, right? Rear end's huge, suspension is huge, frame's bigger. It's the same motor and transmission though, and it's really that 7.3 that I'm after. I love the way it sounds when it cranks. Nothing else like it out there. Truck comes in and it's a little rough. Yeah, it's got a few miles on it, but nothing that hurts it at all. Transmission was reportedly replaced within a year or so, and rolled under there, double checked, it does in fact have a Ford remanufactured transmission, and it is a 3-speed overdrive automatic, which is the weakest link in that drivetrain. And I've kind of known that for a while, and nothing has debunked that. So I'm pretty sure the stick shifts are the way to go for heavy duty longevity. But for comfort, automatic is much better, particularly in city driving. We've tracked down the flasher inside the dash as the main problem for our lights issue. We've replaced that flasher. We've also replaced the batteries. That's where we are so far. Now it's time for test drive. Yes. Yes. Now we get to test drive the truck. It shifted out okay. And at first I didn't notice this. And then it dawns on me. So I did a turnaround and went back after it. It was showing 3,000 RPM at 60 miles an hour. You know, it reminds me, I owned a beautiful 87 Holmes square body Chevy rollback. Just a gorgeous truck. 454, 4-speed stick. First gear's granny gets like a tractor, right? You don't use it. Start out in second. You're shifting into your third and final gear, fourth and final gear, okay, at 35 miles an hour. And for some reason, they didn't put a tachometer on this truck. So I didn't quite know where my RPMs were, and I was doing a lot of interstate travel. And long story short, I couldn't keep it on the interstate without over revving the engine. I looked at gear vendor drives. I looked at upgrading to an overdrive transmission, something, any way to keep this truck on the highway, and I couldn't do it. I had some trouble with the hydraulic bed, realized that's a lot of extra maintenance, and I just got out of the truck. I love wheels, and I can't have a museum. I don't even think I want a museum, to be frank with you. So fast forward to this 99 F550. I'm not the expert here. I'm a fan, and I'm learning. So the 7.3 is a diesel that I feel confident doesn't need to be on the highway at 3,000 RPM. But that's going to shorten the life of the engine. No, so I needed to keep discovering, keep researching, found some great forums. There's a forum out there discussing 3,000 RPMs, and then people start questioning it. And they're like, no, my charts say at this speed you should be at this RPM. So did the previous owner change the gear? And if so, to what? What gear do you have? And so I've found that this truck has a 488 gear. It's a beautiful rear end. The pumpkin is massive, very impressive, and the axles are square. 32-inch diameter tires. It's a stock tire size on the 19.5 rim. I think it's a 225 tire. It really eats up the fuel economy. 60 miles an hour, I should be doing 2,100, almost 2,200 RPM. And I talked to my good friend Shane Cole at Old Gen Motors over in Slayton. If you're looking for newer, more expensive level diesel, 4-wheel drive, anything, check them out. They got good stuff. But he's worked on a lot of these 7.3s, and I'm telling him, man, I'm getting 3,000 RPM. I know that's not healthy. 60 miles an hour. What the heck's going on? This truck looks stock. Other than the transmission, it doesn't look like it's been going through. And he said, well, torque converter's not fully engaging or the transmission's slipping. And that's entirely possible. But when I drive it, and you can see it here shifting out, it shifts consistently. It shifts at the right intervals. It does seem to take a little bit more RPMs before it does shift. I have noticed that, but it's 100%. It doesn't slip. I'm not getting any juddering or anything like that. I go and check the fluid, not touching the stick. Like, you get it warm, cold, whatever, it's not touching the sticks. So I'm starting to top it off with some of that Valvoline high mileage ATF that Laura likes. You can see that here on our Honda service video. Meticulously got it hot and got it into the right range. Go out for a test drive, 60 miles an hour, 3,000 RPM. What could possibly be going on? So I went ahead and hooked up the Maxuses, put it on the machine. I'm just kind of going through the intervals, running, looking for codes. A couple of little codes. I couldn't see much information, but I suddenly noticed that the idle was at 600 and something RPM, and it's kind of fluctuating a little bit. And I'm looking at the RPM gauge, and it's more like 800 to 900 RPM. So I hit the pedal. The computer numbers go up, the gauge goes up. The gauge is working flawlessly, but it's off. The more RPMs, I'm thinking, okay, well, let's just put it to 3,000 RPM and then see what the max assist says. So here I go. In the pedal, bring it up to 3,000 RPM. The max assist comes up. Would you guess where the max assist is sitting? Go ahead, put it in the comments. Actually, don't, because I'm about to tell you. Sitting right where it's supposed to. I found a calculator through the forums, and I put in the wheel diameter, and I put in the gearing, and I put in all the data, 60 miles an hour, and it says this truck should be just short of 2,200 RPM at 60 miles an hour. And that's exactly what the max assist was saying. So this RPM gauge is bad. And it's cost me a lot of time, but I am thrilled to figure that out, because that means then that this truck is not ready to shorten its life on the highway. Now there's some things I can do about it. I could go in the pumpkin, change the gear. Some have said get down to 411 gears. Some went so far as to get down in the threes, like a 373, 383, something like that. Whatever they could get to fit in that rear end. The next thing is tire size. It's a 19.5 inch rim. It has the, I think, now I'm pulling from memory here, 225 height tires. I think you can go to a 265, which may raise it between 1 and 3 inches in height of the tire. And if you do that, obviously a taller tire, it's going to throw your speedometer off. I know, we'll have to work on that. But it's going to turn fewer times, which means you should be able to get more speed and lower the RPMs on the engine, right? Those of you who do this for a living, you're going to know more. Please let me know how you would do it. For $4,000, I can buy a gear drive and add a whole nother overdrive to this setup. I, for one, will most likely never have the kind of weight on this truck that it's designed for. What would you do? If you weren't going to overload it, you wanted to get the RPMs down to maximize fuel economy and still get that bone crunching sound. You know what I'm talking about? Is that how you describe it? You know, when you hit the key, it just sounds like it's crunching on a bone, and then it's running from there. It's like, yeah. Some of you know what I'm talking about. It sounds awesome. Julie, cue the crank. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I want to thank you so much for watching. That's our update so far. Stay with us. We're going to keep toying with this truck. I've got some ideas on some interior upgrades. What sort of upgrades would you like to see in an older truck? What would make it most desirable to you so you would want to buy it? Because I might keep buying these and customizing them slightly and selling them at the lot for all the 7.3 fans out there, like myself. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day.